Now, the reality checks, I think, are one of the major innovations of recent years with a huge potential for the future. And the reason why I'm so enthusiastic about them is because I think we've got two divergent tendencies at the moment in the world. And one is accelerating change, which includes accelerating change for poor people, for people who are excluded, for people who are marginalized, in terms of the conditions which they experience, in terms of their aspirations, in terms of their priorities, their awareness. These are changing faster and faster. At the same time, I think that policymakers and bureaucrats, people working in NGOs even, are more and more trapped, particularly in capital cities. And this means that it's harder and harder for them to be in touch and up to date with what is really happening. And reality checks manage to connect these two.
This method actually developed trust between the researchers and the providers of information at the family level. And that's the only way you really find out why people do what they do. Poor people aren't unintelligent. They make very rational choices. And only once you get to know people, in any circumstance, do they actually reveal why they're doing what they're doing in sensitive areas like family planning. So the mixture of qualitative and quantitative is very important. Quantitative information will tell us how many people get X or Y services, but it won't tell us, for example, why people are seeking much more private sector health provision than public sector health provision, and increasingly so in Bangladesh. This study explained why for both education and health, and a lot of that relates to the quality of services. People don't talk about the quality of services generally in standard statistical surveys. They're yes, no, closed questions. But this kind of research actually explains much more about why they're doing what they're doing. And that's why we have to have mixed methods.
What the reality check allows you to do is that you are living with them, you are living in their reality, and once you establish trust, which I realize is very quick, it's very easy and quick to do, they get you into their confidence, they begin to even lose track that you are a visitor, and they are able to share with you their reality, you are able to live it, you discuss it, you talk about it, and you then can see how different it is, for instance, from when they were talking in the group-based method. For instance, when we did the reality check in this project, people will say, yes, we use mosquito net because they have been told to use mosquito net. But then when I went to live with them, in reality, they don't use mosquito net. Or if they use it, they don't use it all the year round. Because at certain part of the year, it's very hot. And I remember my own children refusing to sleep in mosquito net during the hot season. You know, but then when you ask them in a group-based method, they'll say, yes, we use mosquito net. Because they know that's what you want to hear. They know that's what they have been told to do. But in reality, it's different. You know, so for me, that is the difference. And reality check adds, therefore, a bit more detail, you know, to what people are saying. And for me, that is very valuable.
And I was very impressed by two things. One was the richness of the information that was available, and the other was the integrity of the methodology. And I think that's really something that's quite important and possibly unique about reality check. It's a very open-ended kind of research, but it requires a lot of discipline from the researchers, as you would recall, right? You have to put aside your preconceptions, you have to stop yourself from interpreting and actually just take it in, right? And our researchers found it quite frustrating, some of them, to put aside their mind map and their mental predispositions, and to not take notes. It's quite a discipline, right? And for that reason, people need some training and experience before actually engaging on a full research. Putting aside your understanding of the world, and so forth, I think that's a really important thing. The field work was hard, and you have to be very sensitive to poverty, because that was our intent, was to learn about poverty. You have to be very sensitive, but also very respectful, because even though people may be poor, they have a strong drive to be hospitable and welcoming and support you. Yeah, I think for me personally, reality check opens up questions. Doesn't always have the answers, but it certainly opens up a lot of questions. And I think that's a good beginning point for research and policy development.